Theo and Sam, thank you for coming along to this interview. And firstly, just to say that we understand that you've got some expertise when it comes to the actual curriculum structure of the maritime economics subject at school level. Could you give us an account of what your actual experience is with curriculum development in maritime economics?
Thank you, Prof. What we do is we are in charge of leading the facilitation of information or the planning for teachers to teach properly and to be able to properly execute their duties. So from the planning stage, we gather and work out ATPs, which will be guided to teachers, issued to teachers, and then from there, we can then work out the content pertaining to that particular term. We look at lesson plans, we guide them with proper notes, and also some references, and also assessments, okay? So we will deal with that as well, term by term. And also, both of us, we are also in a committee that assesses. So we set assessment standards for all the teachers from grade 10 to 12. But with the grade 12, we end at a trial exam level. So we write a common paper for all schools doing maritime, and we also moderate that. So come moderation, we are also in the forefront in ensuring that we monitor the standards that we agreed upon and that we have set ourselves as a committee.
Nice. So that's basically you involved in maritime economics all the way from grade 10 to 12. Yeah. You are doing curriculum development and you're doing it very specifically. So we're not talking like high-level overview here. Yeah. You are doing actual lesson plans, yes, and actual assessments, yes, and actual planning of when that should happen through the term and through the year, yes, building up towards the final exam. Yes. Now, when you say resources and that, are you doing it for every single lesson? Surely not. So now let's say you've got a week, you've got a plan for the term, right? Yes. How many specific lesson resources are you giving for the teachers when you work with this?
Okay. For instance, first term consists of 2 topics. So 2 topics, if you break it down, they have maybe 8 or 10 lessons. So obviously you will do 10 lesson plans.
The whole lesson plan?
The whole lesson plan. So
like when you say lesson plan, do you mean like introduction, body, conclusion, content within it, what you have to teach, the whole thing?
That's
yes,
what we do.
Also the lesson might take days.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean it will have to be that one specific day. So you can create one for a number of days and it continues.
Yeah. But are you saying that there are specific lessons? I know it might take longer than a period, but you're saying you've got specific lessons for every single topic,
yes,
across grade 10, 11 and 12?
Yes. Yes, that's what we do.
Now why? Why is there that level of focus with maritime economics?
Remember, this is a new subject and it still needs a guidance. So this is a guidance for those teachers who do not have a content, but who are teachers who just joined the maritime. So they need a guidance. So these lesson plans are guiding them through the content of maritime.
Also, on a research perspective, there isn't much insight in terms of training teachers on how to deliver lessons. Hence, we try and assist. Otherwise, each teacher would have done their own lesson plan. Yeah. But if they had prior knowledge. Now, since most teachers started this not having that much experience or that much knowledge, so we then agreed that let us create one system that we all follow, and then we take it from there.
That makes sense to me. I mean, so in education systems, the more experience and the more knowledgeable the teacher is, the less guidance they want.
Yeah.
So with those kinds of guys, if you give them these lesson plans, they're going to not even look at them because they're going to want to do it completely their own way.
Yes.
But what you guys are saying is, in maritime economics currently at school level, there's not much expertise in terms of the teaching profession itself.
Yeah.
So the best thing to do there is to provide as much structured
Guidance.
guidance as you can.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so now let's start off with what the structure of the curriculum then looks like. So when a kid comes in at grade 10 level, right, and you've got a teacher teaching them, over the year, what do they do at a grade 10 level? Like at a high level, what are the different topics that they do?
Okay, so for grade 10, when they come for the first time, I need to introduce them to Maritime. So that's completely new for a learner, especially in a township. So I'll have to introduce, telling them what is this Maritime, because they don't even know what is Maritime. So you tell them about Maritime, that is shipping. Now they start to gain interest. Another section will be the career. You tell them about the career within the maritime industry. That's where we catch most of the learners to think that, maybe this is what I need to do. So that's how we attract most of the learners, that we talk about the careers at the very beginning, and then we introduce them. We make them draw ships. We introduce them to the cargoes, that it is not goods when it get on board a ship, it is now a cargo. So we introduce them to the nautical words. Now they're excited, calling them words, calling them with nautical words, it is exciting. Yeah, that is the very beginning.
Yeah, it is more
now,
of an introduction.
Sorry, just with that introduction, do you do that? Do you even do that before? Do you have like because they've got to decide whether to do maritime economics or not, so you kind of, and one of the attractions is the possibility.
Yeah, for grade 9, I go to grade 9.
Yes.
I introduce my subject to grade 9, and come next year they'll be coming to my class.
And like how many?
Well, this year, okay, this is my second year in this school. So last year I started there June. So obviously those learners who joined are not part of my recruits.
Yeah.
So last year we had 30 grade 10. This year I have 80. I'm telling you.
It's, in my school, in grade 12 we have 3 maritime classes, 4 maritime classes in grade 11.
4?
We've toned it down to 2 in grade 10.
You've toned it down because you've realized
it's too much, and an average class is 13.
And how many experienced teachers have you got?
It's myself, and there is another teacher that was taken from another subject, but because she's coming from the industry, she has that industry background, so she is now also, we are pairing.
So you guys are quite lucky, eh?
Well, I'm the only one in my school.
Are you the only one?
Yeah.
With support, I assume, from your headmaster, because he knows that,
Yeah.
And the community, is the community excited about it in terms of what is the community around the school saying?
Love it. Parents love it. The maritime is a fascinating subject for people that haven't heard of it. They all like to explore what is it that it has to offer. Many are not choosing it because they want to do it, but they want to learn what it has to offer. I think it has that vibe into saying others are interested, others just want to know what it is, and of which I think should be the case. We shouldn't make it now career focused, but rather awareness.
Yeah, I agree. I think the career focused thing, it's worrying, and at school level, the kids don't know what they're doing yet, to specialize them too soon. So if it's almost like this is an interesting area to explore, like history or
like
geography,
any other subjects. Yes.
Has it got a reputation for being easy? Have you got your dumb kids doing it because they're scared of other subjects?
No, you can't.
Remember that if you're doing maritime economics, and if you're gonna develop a career interest in it, you need to have met and science. So that's when you get those kids who are only doing math and science, especially in my school. I don't know about his school. And also I've been developing like a maritime center in my school, trying to build a hall for maritime only. Yeah.
And when we'll get to that, get to that later. But what I'm trying to understand over here is, so now you've linked it. You've got to do it as a subject choice with maths and science.
Also, it goes in both streams.
Yeah.
Because even at DUT, there's nautical and there's shipping and logistics. So you can cover it in both streams, or rather, you can mix it, saying learners in science have an opportunity of choosing an extra commerce subject to cover both, or there can be a dedicated commerce class and a science class.
Yeah, but there must be math.
There has to be pure math.
And that means that you then only have certain kids who do
that quality is.
Okay, so now you start at grade 10 level, you introduce them because they don't know much about it,
Yes.
right? So you use like cargo goods, I mean, you know. So they start to work that stuff out. What's the next topic that you do?
The topics, there are 4 topics. There's maritime world, shipping operations, international trade, and marine environmental challenges.
And how do they work together? So why have you got those 4? Why not something else? What's the logic of having those 4?
Well, we wouldn't have much insight in terms of the
Selection.
founder of the subject as to what was the intention, but when we look at it, it gives a learner an all-rounded experience in terms of the different areas within the shipping and maritime industry.
So let's look at it. So what was the first one?
Maritime world.
So that's a general.
The geography, yes.
The geography. What do you mean by the geography?
You're looking at the ocean. You're looking at the world. You're looking at the continents. You're looking at the ships, the types of ships. It's just the basics of the maritime
world.
So it's a whole maritime world. But you need to understand this area if you do that first.
The terms that are used. Yeah.
So we do that. That's your first, and then your second topic.
Shipping operations is now when we start operating ships.
The ship is now sailing.
Yeah, but we have to
the ship now sails.
Yeah, the ship now sails.
Oceans.
You understand?
Yes, we've established oceans and the connections in the world. Now the ship needs to travel.
Yeah,
the world.
So what do you do there in grade 10 level? Because the kids don't understand. So what is the topics that you do to get out?
These are ports. The ports load ships. Ships are loaded and they sail. When you load a ship, you consider 1, 2, 3, 4, and you work out time like this. To get to the next point, you need to consider a few factors, your fuels and every other thing, and this is how you work it out. So you basically are guiding them into the voyage.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how much fuel do you need in this particular voyage?
So you do some basic calculations as well.
Single voyages.
Yeah, which one is the best speed, you know?
Yeah.
But now they're getting an idea of moving across the world, using the ships and the basic calculations and the basic types. Okay, so they've done that. So that's 2. Then what's
international trade? Now we start introducing them to the trading regions of the world, the sources of cargoes and destinations.
Yeah.
Now, what are we transporting, navigating our ships?
Yeah, because now the ship is moving, but what are we transporting?
What are we moving?
What are we moving? What do we have in our country that they don't have in other countries?
So that's why it's also economics. Right?
Yes,
that's the economics.
So demand and supply.
So
different countries, different blocks have different stuff.
Different
You've got to move
cargoes.
it between the two to make sense. The one does this to this, and the other one does that.
For instance, in Middle East, they have oil that they distribute in the rest of the world. So what type of ships that are coming?
Types of ships are now.
What types of ships that are coming from Middle East?
Yes.
So those are tankers.
Yeah.
So the learner will link that. Will link a cargo to a ship.
Yeah.
And are they doing things like the Suez Canal and that kind of stuff?
Definitely.
Is that
part of the geography.
Geography.
In term 1.
Suez Canal, Panama Canal. Yeah.
So they're learning all of those. The
Convergence zone. We call them convergence zones.
So those are most important areas of the shipping.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now we've got, what's the next topic after
Let's
that?
look at the environment. Let's do all
Right.
this while
Right.
we take care of the environment. The maritime environment, in which is an ecosystem, we need to preserve it.
Yeah, now that we're sailing, let's keep them clean.
Yeah.
Let's keep them clean. We're looking into MAPO, which is the International Convention for Prevention of Marine Pollution from ships, because we're operating ships.
Yeah.
So let's not damage this sea, because we're working on it. So we're looking into that. So we're looking into how we ballast. Ballast is the water that we use to submerge our ship in case we don't have any cargo. So that water we take in and out. So where are we taking it? Maybe we're taking it to China, to Durban. So if we like deep ballasting in Durban, now those are small nonos from China will be discharged in Durban,
Yeah.
which will damage our environment in South
And
Africa.
also it introduces them to the fishing industry.
Yeah.
Because that's where the fishing industry starts now to emerge. To saying we do also have a fishing industry that is influenced by how we manage and how we preserve the ocean.
So it's maritime economics. It's like that maritime world is what. So you're trying to get the kids to get a sense of this whole zone, the geography of it, the trade of it, the types of ships that are involved, the pollution factors or the sustainability things in our world, and that gives them. Is that like grade 10? Would you say is that grade 10 as a whole, or do you do?
So we just rounded it off.
10, 11 and 12
10, 11,
all
and
does the
12.
No,
same.
but yeah. So now I know you do the same. What you're saying is you do the same kind of topics
Yes.
Yeah.
in grade 10, 11 and 12.
Yeah.
But by the time you get to grade 11, how does it change from grade 10? What's different when you go to grade 11?
Okay. So we'll do topic by topic. With the maritime world, now in grade 11, we start now looking more broadly into saying things like what?
Lloyd Register,
The Lloyd's Register, yes.
registration of ships. How do we sell our ships?
That is more specific.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the Lloyd's Register?
It's a register of ships where we keep records of all the ships. It's like a home affairs of ships, where we keep all the details of
But
ships.
is it like for the whole world, or is it just
For
Yes,
the whole
it is for
world.
the whole world.
Yeah, because this is like a recognized organization, Lloyd Register. They're based in London. They keep information of every kind of ship. So if you are looking for a ship, you just go there, check their status, you charter them.
Nice. Nice.
So we're looking into that in grade 11 as the introduction. Yeah, so we do the calculations, we look into how do they see the type of ship, how do they see the type of engine, because now you are a charterer, you look into hiring a ship, so you need to look into the details of that particular ship.
So in grade 10, you're doing types of ships. in grade
Yes,
10, but it's very basic.
Yeah, it's very
You've got
basic.
these different types of ships. Grade 11, now you getting into more specifics.
More specific about the ship.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what Lloyd Register does.
And then, so that's two. And what else do you build on? Let's taking a topic per topic.
Shipping operations. Now we start looking at cargo work, showing them now how that late time that we were speaking about before. We start introducing that now. We start introducing chartering. We start introducing round voyages. In grade 10, it's only single voyages. Now we start looking at both round voyages. That is shipping operations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you're building on the complexity of it.
Yes.
So you're starting to get a bigger picture.
Yeah.
And you're adding more complex operations
Yes.
on. Yeah. Okay. So and then what's the next one?
International trade.
International trade.
Yes.
International trade at grade 11, we start looking at trade routes.
Yeah, trade routes.
Okay.
Trade routes that they are based on cargoes. Trade routes based on cargoes and ships as well. So we link them together at the end. But trade routes, cargoes that are distributed from those trade routes, and also the types of ships.
So you're building in complexity. Basically, you're taking stuff which you've done at grade. It's not like you're doing completely new stuff. And it's not like you're just repeating it, you're actually adding the stuff together.
Adding more,
In
yes.
fact, it is recommended that they keep a 2-choir book from grade 10 all the way to grade 12.
Yeah, because it's a
The
3-year
exercise
course.
book.
Because it's a 3-year
three.
course.
So you continuously build, you build,
Yes,
and
yes. You need
rely on
those
this
basics, yeah. You can't do away with.
That's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you do, so with international trade, they're now getting a more complex picture of how these two things come together. Do you get involved in any of the, is there like a story about the politics of it, or about the inequalities that are going on in the world where you've got, you know, richer countries trading with poorer countries?
Yes, in grade
or-
12.
Grade 12.
Oh, so that's
International
grade
trade.
12.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I was wondering if we'd get that far.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move then to, so what happens in grade 12?
Okay.
Maritime world, again, but this one will be looking into
Propulsion.
types of propulsion. So we'll be looking back from sailing, steamships, and also now that we are using a motor ship, so we'll be checking why did we move from sailing and now we're in a motor ship. So that, yeah, that's what we'll be
Far more
looking at.
specific.
Yeah, it's far more
far more
specific.
specific.
And
Look
then-
at seafarers globally, where majority are coming from. We look also in the registration of ships. We start looking at now the geography in sense of now how does it add value to the maritime industry.
So you're pushing the economic side again as well to get that clear.
Yeah, we're looking to deep in depth with a Suez Canal. Remember there was a closure in Suez Canal and ships had to move down Cape.
One where that ship got
So
stuck.
yeah, we benefit during that time. Yeah,
That is a good
international
case
trade.
study.
yeah,
Yes.
that's
You
it.
mean we benefit in terms
We
of-
benefit.
Yes,
Yes,
in South Africa. Southern
How
Africa.
specific do you get about the South African port structure, like Durban and Cape Town and Richards Bay?
Oh, all the 8 ports.
We,
Oh,
we cover all the ports.
in grade, is it grade 11? Yeah.
Yeah, grade 11.
So
But
you go in specific detail into the ports at that point.
Grade 10, we just cover the geographic area of the ports in South Africa, and then in grade 11 we go in depth what type of cargo is being operated in that particular port. Yeah,
okay.
so it's quite a good one.
and we also in grade 11 now we are in which topic now? Are we still in or we just now
We're
moving?
just moving through.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, because that is close to international trade, also we start introducing them at grade 11 at hinterlands areas where the ports serve. Now, if you're looking at intermodal transport system, where the cargo comes from inland and ends up in the ports. So we start looking at those now, to giving them a broader sense into saying it's not about the port, but rather where the cargo is coming from or going to, that influences what happens in the port.
That makes a lot of sense to me. So all of a sudden what happens is now they're getting a sense of the whole kind of ecological structure
Yes.
of the story, which involves basically the whole world.
Yeah.
And it's basically trade.
Yeah.
It's basically trade from hinterland to port, across the seas, back to, you know, so
Yeah.
basically telling the story of how the world trades in
Yes.
maritime economics.
Yeah, we're
Yes,
telling the
we're
story
telling
with the
about that.
book.
Yeah.
Because now we're looking to a bill of lading, which is a document that we use for transportation of goods by sea. And then also we're going to Incoterms. So those are international commercial terms that you can choose from when you are shipping goods. So those terms are being looked at grade 12 as well. Yeah.
Now, what kind of mathematics do you work with by the time you're at grade 12 level? What's the level of math? Is it basic
It's
addition,
Mathlet.
subtraction,
It's Mathlet.
multiplication, division? Is it quite simple?
Yes, Mathlet.
Mathlet.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the maths is quite
It requires logic.
It requires
Yeah, it requires
understanding.
logic. Like, for instance, if you say, how many hours will it take for you to load this particular cargo? Obviously, you need to think that, oh, I need to take the total and divide by the
it's like thinking through, understanding
thinking,
what it is, and then
yes,
doing
yes.
those logical operations.
Yeah, we don't have like equations.
and
No.
formulas.
And in terms of actual economics concepts, supply, demand,
Yes,
curves,
yes.
those demand curves, that kind of stuff, you're not actually doing
We're not-
economics.
No, we're not actually doing that. We touch basing them.
demand and the influence on the prices, whether it freight rates or price of commodities.
But you're not doing supply demand curves. for
No,
example.
not the curves. Not the curves.
So you're basically introducing them into the ecological structure of how this thing works.
Yeah.
Right? So it's
Yeah.
not a specialized kind of thing in economics.
Yeah, so like for instance, a charter rate, we're looking to a charter rate. Why is it the charter rate high at this particular time? So it's a demand of ships during this time.
Which is caused by the demand of cargo
demand
that
of
is rising.
But again, that's kind of like you're doing it logically, like you were saying. It's like a set of logical steps.
Yeah.
They're not learning
the curve of
Yeah.
demand and supply now.
Yeah.
What about forms? Like if you do bill of ladings, or do they have to like learn to fill in specific types of forms, or do you, that's not a part of it either?
No, that's not.
They
That's
just learn that there is a bill of lading and this is a function of it.
Yeah.
Or these are the functions.
And what piece of information are there?
But they're not like the person who's done maritime at DUT or
Yeah, we've done that. We know how it works, but for them, they only need to know this.
There is this document,
Yeah.
and it's important.
So then, when you get to your matric exam, what does your matric exam consist of? Like, describe by that stage, some of the questions are and what the learner needs to be able to deal with at that level.
Okay, so also the question paper for grade 12, right, specifically, they will write Maritime World for the first question, which means it gives a learner that click that what they're answering is Maritime World. So everything that is in or within this question is based on Maritime World. So Maritime World, like he said, consists of propulsion, consists of international seafarers, and also data analysis, how you analyze data. So those are questions that are coming from maps, not from curves. So you were given a curves, and then you answer question based on the curves and also information.
There's quite a lot of, so with the Maritime World, quite a lot of the questions resource based. So you're given a resource and you've got to kind of logically work out some of the responses to it.
Yeah. And
essays? Do they write essays?
It used to, but now we wouldn't consider those essays, but sometimes you would require to do a report.
20
not
marks.
an essay. 20 marks report.
20 marks, not much.
Maybe of an incident that has happened or an awareness that you need to do.
I remember they were asked about Russia and Ukraine. How does that affect the trading?
The trade globally.
Yes. So we know that each year they'll be looking into a story that recently happened.
Trending.
Yeah, that is trending.
And you find that with shipping operations, learners must be able to navigate through the scenario of a ship that started in Port A and had to deal with things in Port A, moved, and something went wrong along the way to introduce another concept of salvage, and then finally ended up where it needs to.
Yeah.
So if the learner was unable to gather the facts correct at the beginning, it will affect what happens later.
So it's operation from question 2, question 3 up until question it's carrying.
Now what happens if they do get it wrong?
You might get right answers after, but according to the calculations you will not get a good calculation, but you still get questions that ask you about the knowledge.
So they're
not gonna fail. No.
They make a silly mistake at the first level.
No. They do with the calculations, because if they miscalculate duration and duration affects what happens next in the calculations, they will get all the calculations wrong.
But how much do the calculations cost? As what you're saying, Theo? You're saying, so the calculation side, they could get it wrong, and then they're in trouble. But
Yeah.
you're still asking questions which are general understanding questions about each
Yeah,
of the
just
papers.
for them to get
Yeah.
at least 100.
Yeah.
Yes, for them to get at least 100. So we still have those questions in between, like, but calculations. But 120. I did calculate. I think it was 2019. Yeah, they worth 120 marks.
You see, that's 40%.
Out of 300.
That's 40% of the paper.
Yeah, out of 300. So you'll be starting by calculating the loading rate, which is the shipping operation that I did in the board. Then you get that hours that she spent in ports, and then you are moving the ship now. You calculate the ETA.
So now, okay. So with grade 12, so we're talking. So we said that like there's a substantial calculation component, but actually the calculations are quite easy.
Yeah,
But they need to understand the context of what's going on.
Yes.
They need to be able to track it through the different phases. Of
That's
what's
where
going on.
most are challenged, especially if your concentration span is lower. That's where most learners are challenged.
By holding the narrative, by holding the story through the different phases.
Yeah. And you find that even sometimes the examiner might make it tougher by taking the same scenario and applying it in the next question, which is international trade.
So that's question 2. No, question 3 and 4.
3.
So now there's question 3 and 4
Yeah.
based on the same ship.
On the same story from question 2.
Yeah, that's it. Well done.
If you've got it, you're way.
You are way away.
Like 90%.
You're gonna get 90%.
But you can't start with question 4. You can't start with question 3. So you gotta start now with question 1 all the way.
So do the learners know this? Are they trained to? Because obviously there's like this is an exam technique now.
Yeah.
I mean, if they understand that they've got to carefully follow the sequence, they safe. But if they don't,
yes, we advise them. However, in other subjects they are told start with any question, but we specifically advise.
And they will come and argue, and I'll say, "But I'm your teacher, and I know what best for you."
And also it's maritime economics.
Yeah, this is maritime. So starting with question 1 up until 5.
And is the logic that it follows the hinterland port, go across the sea to another place with some salvage in between, and then offload, and then is that the narrative?
Yes,
that's how it works.
Yeah, that's how it is. At the end, it's a story.
And then based on the different story, you could use different types of ships, or you could use different kinds of trade routes, so that's how you can stitch it all in.
In between, while the ship is still at sea, it catches fire. We include that story.
Just to bring that topic in. So, and then those are a type of scenarios we get.
So now, is there anything else that you do in the matric? We're talking about the matric paper. So what else would you do apart from that quite long sequence story from hinterland to port, across the sea to another port with warships and explosions and fire and robbing and all that kind of stuff? What else is in the matric?
The laws, the maritime domain, or the jurisdiction, or rather the conventions that govern trade. Learners have to know them. Now we are talking about conventions. Before we were not talking about conventions, but measures that we put in place to avoid certain things, or just to teach them that there are certain aspects like pollution, like there is safety. Now we're dealing with conventions. That now this is governed by this convention, and this convention informs us that this has to happen. This is this convention, this is that convention. Now they have to know the laws.
Now the maritime law story, why is that so big at like UKZN and some universities? Why does maritime law become quite an important subject? I don't know if you. So I don't understand why we. Is it a huge field in its own right?
Lots of claims in Durban. Durban is busy.
So maritime law.
There's actually huge demand.
There's a huge demand. That's why it's there. Because if you look into maritime law, they are representing all the claims that is happening. They're representing ship owners, cargo owners. So yeah, they work a very good money.
That's quite interesting. And then maritime science, or maritime, like not maritime, marine science. So it sounds like you do a little bit of that in the world kind of perspective, where you're just talking about the ecology of the oceans and that. But that's not a big part of maritime economics, is it?
No, that's for us. It's 60 marks. It's 20% of the marine environmental challenges. It's part of marine environmental challenges, where we break it into fishing and pollution. I think that's the fishing part of it, where it's the fisheries.
So you give a basic account of but it's more focused on the industries and it's not focused on like the kinds of fish and the kinds of environments that occupy the marine world.
Food chain. We talk about the food chain. There's a food chain and it needs to be sustainable. There's an ecosystem that needs to continue.
Yeah, that's all we need to know. Yeah. That's why we shouldn't pollute, because there's an ecosystem. Yeah, that's it. I think other subjects they cover that. Marine science, they do cover what's in the seabed, everything.
Okay.
Also some dredging that happens, mineral dredging that might happen, exploration of oil, we cover that to say there are minerals, there is some cargo that is found beneath the ocean. Well, how can we then prevent pollution out of it? But yes, there is some cargo, there are minerals under the ocean.
Okay. So what areas haven't we covered in terms of the curriculum so far that I've been talking about that are still important?
Yeah, that's maritime insurance. So marine insurance rather, that's because you are operating in a danger environment, so there's a lot that can happen. So you need to cover your ship. A ship is very expensive, so you need to cover your ship, your cargo, and also people who are working for your ship. So marine insurance comes in that aspect. So
how do you do marine insurance for the kids? I mean, what do you do there? I mean, you struggle to talk about insurance anyway. Don't their eyes kind of glaze over and they're like,
I'm telling you, they like it.
They like it.
They like it.
Yes, they do.
They like it. You tell them why you need insurance. You need insurance because you don't want to pay a lot. If they say, okay, so now
you attach figures as well.
You give them types of insurance, and examples as well. So
I suppose the danger of it and the interest is that it's a safety. Like you can make it into quite a story. About how catastrophic it would be if you didn't have it.
Yes. They got to change roles. They got to sometimes look at it as if they are ship owners. Sometimes they have to look at it as if they are cargo owners. They are owning the ports or running the ports. So they got to constantly be able to look at it in different roles or different angles.
So we're looking into that part, not like a fine print, but the type of insurance, what it covers.
Now, so now let's move on to what I want you guys to do is think about your day's teaching, right? And I want you to imagine and try and describe for me. I don't want the best lessons or the interesting on a daily basis. How would you say you actually teach in terms of your style? What is it that you do? The kids walk into the class on your daily basis. What would you say you do? What's the activities that you textbook teach? Is it overhead transfer, teach stuff? Do some examples. I'm wondering, what's your daily grind?
So I usually prepare a lesson a day before and make copies if I'm gonna need copies. They already have books they will refer on. So if we're gonna use those books, I'm gonna use Blackboard just to write an examples. So when they come in, hi, how are you guys? Hey, how was your weekend? If it's Monday, they're happy. They're comfortable now. They take their seats. Everyone have their seats, so no one will, they know that's you. You say in that seat. So I think the very important management of a class is to guide that first, so that you have more time in teaching than, managing who stays where. Just give them a directive. Let's say you will say you will sit here. Every time you come here, this is your seat, so no one will. So that's how it works. And then you start a session. You introduce, like we did in our lesson. So we introduce the lesson. We talk to them. We ask them, does anyone know anything about the topic? They say yes or no.
Yeah.
No one. Then you go into a topic.
And then you do the topic.
Yeah.
And in terms of the topic, so you teach the topic. How much kind of work do they do in their workbooks after you've taught? Is it normally that you just teach them? I mean, how much homework do you give them, or how many class exercises do they have? Do you do much of that, or not really?
So most of the questions that we have are bigger questions. So you find that the questions that we have in our question paper covers 2 topics. So you need to have these 2 topics. But we have examples at the end of a topic. Like he did show you the document that we compiled. So each and every topic will have 2-3 examples or activities. So we'll just say maybe 1 activity in class and then 1 you do as your homework. Yeah. So yeah.
So pretty much they have some kind of activity to do for every lesson.
Yeah.
You aim at that.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of practical stuff, you like were saying you were interested in getting a maritime kind of
class.
Center,
Yeah. In mind.
What kind of do you have to do like more practical activities where you try and get them a sense of ports and a sense of the ships, or not? Do you need to get them to those places and get them to understand that, or is that not necessary?
Definitely it is. It is. You have to create a program like that, like excursion program, for grade 10, 11 and 12 different. I know what we do is grade 10, we have a different excursion for just visiting the port and learning different things of the port. In grade 11 it becomes different, and in grade 12 it also gets aligned to their curriculum. Also there's sailing.
No.
There is sailing. Yes. We do
sailing. I mean, isn't that dangerous?
It is, but obviously if you are to work at sea, you have to understand and learn to be comfortable around the water as early as now.
So they do sailing from grade 11 as well.
Yeah.
How can the schools afford that? I mean, that's expensive. Surely that's like a. Like I was a headmaster.
No, schools
When
don't
I
pay.
heard I was doing maritime economics, and then all of a sudden they came to me and said, listen, the kids that are doing those 80 kids that have signed up in the school, they need to do sailing. I'd be like, so I'm interested.
Can't be all of
Yeah,
them.
they don't pay for that. Yeah, they don't pay for that. It is covered by Sail Africa
or eThekwini Maritime Cluster.
Yeah, so they're the one who are helping us with sailing.
Sail cluster and eThekwini cluster. I know that
eThekwini cluster and Sail Africa.
Some funding. So how does that work? What are they? Because there's not many schools that are offering it in KZN.
In KZN. Yeah.
We're talking plus minus 25.
25 schools.
Plus minus,
Yeah. So we have.
But I think those that do sailing, less than 10.
Yeah.
And they don't do it regularly. You have those that do it weekly, and some would do it maybe over the weekends and some over the holidays. So to try and cover as many schools as possible.
Because some schools are close to dams, or some schools aren't.
Yeah.
So there is this practical component of sailing.
Yes. It gives them a
For maritime economics, you're not talking nautical science here.
Maritime economics.
And if you're doing nautical science,
that's another. That's a completely different story.
It should have been basically for nautical. If we were offering nautical studies, sailing, it should have been for nautical studies. But now we don't have nautical studies in KZN.
At all.
At all.
There's no one teaching it at school level.
I should be teaching it because I did.
So what's
Yeah.
happening? Why is that the case? Because I've heard that maritime economics is way more popular
Yeah.
than nautical science
Well, with
or
the
nautical study.
They closed it down before me.
yeah,
That's
You're saying if you were there,
No, the
it would be
department-
open.
Yeah, I'm a nautical.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a
So you're
nautical
passionate
teacher.
for it. But I still don't get it. Why would you say why is it the case that is it easier to do maritime economics as a school subject?
Well, if you look at the answers we got from the department was that it was expensive
Yeah.
to operate or
Yeah,
to
like-
manage to run.
Because you
Because
need
they had
you need a
one
chart.
educator.
You need a
You need a chart. You need a chart for each learner. You need a ruler for each learner.
Oh, because they're doing the navigation.
Yeah, the navigation. So we're doing that plotting. So for a chart, I don't know how much is it. It's a tiny site in Durban, but it was expensive.
Yeah.
I know.
You're talking about a chart. You're
A
talking
chart,
about
like a big chart. Yeah.
Like you're talking about
Yeah.
an expensive
Yeah.
document.
Yeah.
And there was one person that was doing it in all the 4 schools. So today they would go to this one school, the following day to that school and that school and that school.
Yeah.
And it was a cost on a department, I don't know, as opposed to hiring one for each school. And it was on a pilot phase, yeah.
So now that's kind of dropped out, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maritime economics is what you do.
Yes.
That's quite interesting.
But I think it doesn't work for us as KZN to take out in nautical studies, because even if you go to companies like organizations like SAIMI, they will tell you there is no maritime school in KZN, because they would regard a maritime school as that school that has both economics and nautical. They would say in Johannesburg there is, and in Western Cape there is,
because
but
they
not in
complement each
KwaZulu-Natal.
other.
So that's why the one in Port St. John's, we've got to go to Port St. John's to get to a school that does both nautical science and maritime economics. We're going to go there and go check it out.
Okay.
But how come could they get it right at Port St. John's? We can't do it with Durban. I don't understand.
Yeah, me either.
Maybe they're doing it under IEB, it's private, it's not under the Department of Basic Education.
No, we've got to check that out, because there's something departmentally that's happened where they tried to get it going. It was too expensive, or they didn't have enough people doing it. They had one oak going around to 4 schools. There's something about that which is strange. I'm assuming in the Western Cape, there's schools that are doing both.
Yeah.
It's Low Hill
Low Hill.
only. Simon's Town as Low Hill.
But you see, the other account that I've heard is that the industry as a whole cannot cope with too many people coming into this kind of occupational zone. So I've heard accounts saying we need some people coming through, but we don't need them coming through in the thousands. We don't need thousands and thousands of kids coming through, because we haven't got the capacity to actually cope with them in terms of the occupation.
Yeah, they may not be needed now, but if you read the stats in future, there will be a demand for seafarers, of which we want to be the world of seafarers as a South Africa. So we are running into that path, as Philippines are at the moment, because they're running.
My
Philippines,
Philippines.
I'd advise them that, for us, I don't know, I try and make them look at it in this way. We want to to be seafarers and want to work in ships that are not controlled by us, that are not owned by us, of which those companies don't have any business in hiring us if they don't want to. So basically, we are learning for something that we don't have control over. Maybe if our focus would shift into saying, how can we then participate in influencing and also having a control stake in terms of now knowing exactly where our skills or where our seafarers are directed to, maybe it would be a much better sense. Obviously, it goes further into saying, even if we own ships, you can buy a ship today, but what is it transporting? Do you have the cargo?
Yeah.
Do you own the cargo? Obviously, you can't tell someone that has had a relationship with the ship owner for a very long time to say, now pull out of that ship owner. You've got to know.
It's that, for sure. But it's also, it's not like how do you get control over your labour or the guys that are going on, when you are going from harbour to harbour and port to port across the world. You're going to get a comparison. The oaks are going to be starting to say, listen, those Filipino oaks,
yes,
they're fantastic. They're cheap, they're skilled, they know what's going on, they're enthusiastic. Hire them.
Yeah. And I'm also looking into offshore.
Yeah.
If you look into Angola, they discovered oil.
And Southern Africa.
And they hired the Angolan.
Yeah.
So Maersk took that project, but the government said, you can only hire the Angolan. They say, but the Angolan are not trained. They took them to South Africa. We trained them.
Really?
Yeah. Those cadets, they were trained by us. And now they're captains, they're chief engineers. They were trained here by Samtra. So all I'm saying is that they're looking into what do you have in that country? Yeah. What sort of resource do you have?
So we need to get more control at a national level on how our employment structures are working.
Yes, definitely. That's where the policy needs to be right.
Because that will create a bigger demand, which currently I know some of the guys are worried that there isn't the demand for the production of nautical, unless you want to do it privately or for yourself.
You look into ships, you see the number of ports that the ship calls. Maybe you see South Africa there, down there, five times, 5 times a year. So you just, why would I hire a seafarer from South Africa? You understand? So
because at least we should be doing a coastal service. Maybe a coastal service.
That would also extend the coastal service where it is now. Okay, I think that gives us a good picture. I just want to say thanks to you guys.
Thank you.
It's been useful for me as a novice in the area, trying to understand what teaching and learning looks like and what the structure of maritime economics looks like. So it was really nice to speak to experts in the field and find out what you guys have experienced. So I'd like to say thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to coming to see you guys at school.
It's a pleasure, Prof. And also my kids. You're gonna see my kids.
So thanks a lot.
Thank you, Prof. Yeah.